Joined from Philadelphia by Rick Palacio, chairman of the Colorado Democratic Party. Rick, thank you for your time. So I'm curious, last night in the hall, the boos and the chants against Clinton and for Sanders, were those coming from the Colorado delegation or somewhere else?
Well, I think that there may have been some coming from the Colorado delegation, but I think that it was there were some delegations around us that were booing and chanting as well. It was a very energetic crowd last night. I will tell you, for the first night of the convention, I was actually incredibly impressed with the amount of enthusiasm that there was in the room.
Bernie Sanders is really going a long way to stress party unity. Do you get the sense that the Sanders supporters in the Colorado delegation are heeding his call?
I think that a lot of them are, yes. We had a great delegation breakfast this morning where the delegation, a lot of the Bernie Sanders delegates as well stood up to talk about party unity, talked about how Bernie himself called for his supporters to unify behind Hillary Clinton and do everything they could to make sure that we're defeating Donald Trump this fall. So I think that the energy is there. It's going to take a little bit of time for some people to come around, but ultimately I think a vast majority of them will come around and vote for Secretary Clinton this fall.
The Sanders folks want to limit the power of superdelegates who went overwhelmingly for Clinton. There's a rule change that was written by Coloradans to do that. Are you on board with that?
I actually haven't seen the entire text of the rule change, but I understand that there is a commission, a unity commission that has been set up that has a time limit that is attached to it that basically is set out to explore what the superdelegate the role of the superdelegates is in the future. And I think that it's probably time that we have that conversation and make some changes within the party. The Democratic Party is known for evolving on various issues, so it should also evolve when it comes to the rules for inter-party purposes.
You always assured Colorado Democrats that the DNC was neutral in the race between Clinton and Sanders, and now these leaked emails come out and show that some people within the DNC were clearly in the tank for Clinton against Sanders. So what do you tell those Democrats now?
Well, I would say that the emails do concern me. I don't think that there's anything that was revealed in any emails that that changed the outcome of the election that would have either beginning of this race or towards the end of this race. I think that personal feelings were laid out in some of those emails and not really much more. The important thing is that this week is about Democrats coming together, as Bernie said last night himself, that as Democrats, we need to unite behind Secretary Clinton to make sure that we're electing her for the good of our country. Donald Trump is simply unfit to be president.
Here's one thing that's come up that I'm curious about. As a party insider, do you think that the DNC could have rigged the primary even if it wanted to? Does it have the power and the ability to do that?
You know, every state has different rules for electoral purposes and primary purposes. Colorado is a caucus system. We couldn't possibly do anything that would have affected the outcome. Our job as a party is to ensure that as many people as possible could participate in the caucuses and primaries around the state, around the Colorado and around the rest of the country as well. And I think that state parties did that to the best of their abilities. I think, you know, ultimately our nominee, and she'll accept the nomination on Thursday night, is Hillary Clinton. And again, it's important that we are united as Democrats behind Hillary Clinton, as Bernie Sanders himself has done.
And lastly, what is it about these conventions that doesn't always translate on TV? You've watched them from home, you've been in the room.
What I think is great about conventions is that they get loud and energetic, and you can't always feel that energy when you're sitting at home in your living room. You can get a sense when the camera pans around the room, but you never feel the thunderous applause that happens inside of the room. You never feel the energy of sometimes the boos and the hisses. And it tells me that democracy sometimes can get loud and unruly and noisy. And there's this convention especially, I think, a great deal of symbolism over the fact that we're in Philadelphia, where so much of our history as a country began, and here we are to elect the very first female, nominate the very first female for president of the United States. So I think that just the plain energy is what you can't capture when you're sitting at home.
Rick Palacio, chairman of the Colorado Democrats, thank you for your time. Enjoy the convention. Travel safe.
Thanks, Kyle.